The perception is that basically the picture that is shown to the candidate, has he been able to look at the picture properly? Has he observed the picture properly? Has he come out with the correct themes? What are the types of themes that he's thought of? Is it a low-level theme? It's a negative theme, or is it a good, ordinary, average theme, or it's a good and better theme, a positive theme that the candidate has come out? Problem is generally with the repeaters, because the repeaters know unless they speak, they are not going to have any opportunity or chance to get into the stage. Whereas in social topic, the candidate needs to have a balancing act, because you can't be a fence sitter in the social topic. You got to have an opinion. Example, hijab. If the topic is hijab, you can't be a fence sitter. People can wear hijab, people cannot wear hijab. Now, there are certain places, like the High Court has said, in certain places you can wear a hijab. You're permitted to wear. And there are certain places which you cannot. Now, it's a controversial topic. The candidate needs to have an opinion. Each of the assessors bring out what they feel about the candidate, and then the candidate keeps on waiting outside. Person who's a repeater need not necessarily mean that he is a repeater because of some fault of his. It could be that his performance at that particular time has not been up to the mark.
तू चलता जा, तू चलता जा, तू चलता जा, तू बढ़ता जा, तू बढ़ता जा, तू बढ़ता जा, तू लड़ता जा, तू लड़ता जा, तू लड़ता जा, तू बढ़ता जा,
जय हिंद, वंदे मातरम और भारत माता की जय। स्वागत है आपका द फौजी शो में। द फौजी शो में सामाजिक जिम्मेदारी की तरफ एक विनम्र कोशिश है। इस शो से इकट्ठा किया हर पैसा भारत के वीर फाउंडेशन में जाएगा, ताकि हमारे शहीद भाई बहन की फैमिलीज को कोई भी आर्थिक समस्या ना आए। आपके एक लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब से किसी की सहायता हो सकती है, क्योंकि मैं खुद एक एक्स-NDA हूँ और नेशनल डिफेंस एकेडमी में 3 साल ट्रेनिंग किया हूँ। मैं सम्मान करता हूँ हर उस भाई बहन का जो सरहद पर है, ताकि हम जैसे लोग, आप और मैं, चैन की नींद सो सके। जय हिंद, वंदे मातरम, भारत माता की जय। स्वागत है आपको ऑन द फौजी शो। टुडे वी हैव विद अस Colonel Sachit. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting my invitation and coming on our small channel as a guest. Privileged to have you. Sir was a GTO at SSB Allahabad board, जो commonly is known as rejection center, which is a myth. उसके बारे में बात करेंगे बाद में. But thank you so much, sir. Privileged to have you, and really looking forward to our collaboration.
Thank you very much for having me on your channel. मुझे बहुत खुशी होगी अगर मेरा थोड़ा सा भी आपके व्यूअर्स के लिए इंफॉर्मेशन मेरे से मिले तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, फिर मुझे भी अच्छा लगेगा।
Great. Sir is a faculty at AFPA. AFPA, as you know, तो कम से कम 1.5 बटालियन NDA हर कोर्स में भेजता है। तो sir, what is the secret behind this success, sir, जो AFPA enjoy करता है कि they are sending 130, 140 kids in every course?
Possibly the kids are better. The good kids are coming to us, and maybe we are doing something right, and we'll talk about that. Our training is such, the training which has been set out by Commander Natarajan has been really wonderful. It's very well set out, and the best part is in AFPA we don't coach, neither do we teach. We lay stress on the candidates to think and act. So possibly that is why they come out more natural than most of the other candidates, and possibly that is why the success rate is also commensurate to that.
Great, great. Sir, moving forward, थोड़ा SSB के बारे में बात करते हैं, because main तो aspirants they want to know that only. तो सर पहले screening पे आते हैं कि what is the thing which is being noticed in a candidate during screening, क्योंकि the 3 assessors they interact with the candidate only in the PPDT narration में या discussion में. So what is the thing which is being noticed the most?
Correct. I'll tell you what. All the 3 assessors sit there for a simple reason. The psychologist is basically, not only does he look for the overall candidate, but also the basic thing that the psychologist is looking for is the perception part. The perception is that basically the picture that is shown to the candidate, has he been able to look at the picture properly? Has he observed the picture properly? Has he come out with the correct themes? What are the types of themes that he's thought of? Is it a low level theme? It's a negative theme, or is it a good, ordinary, average theme, or it's a good and better theme, a positive theme that the candidate has come out? So that shows in the action that the candidate writes, and also thereafter the narration, the story that he narrates to the assessors and the group that matters. That is what basically the psychologist is looking for. The interviewing officer is not only looking for the perception part, but also the overall demeanor of the candidate. How is he? Is he confident? Is he taking the initiative? Is he able to talk in the group, or is he just getting in the background and riding on somebody else's way of talking? And generally, the ability to express himself is what the interviewing officer is looking for. The group testing officer is basically, because he's the person who actually briefs the candidate about how to go about the narration, then how to go about the discussion part before the actual narration, the discussion takes place. So he's actually interacting with the candidates, one-on-one types almost with each group. The second part is that the candidates, the GTO that is looking for is how confidently he's narrating. He may have gone wrong in the perception, but is he still able to take on with that thing in the mind that he may have gone wrong in the perception? Is he wasting his chance of narration, or he still carries on? Okay, let me see whatever I have done. Let me go through it, because I have to do something. I can't just sit back and allow the other candidates to take on. This is one thing that the GTO is looking for. And the second part is in the discussion. Is he able to logically argue? Somebody says ki there is a rally going on. Let us presume there is a rally going on. A rally, the moment you say rally, it cannot be just one vehicle or without just the crowd. It has to be a lot of banners going on, a lot of people standing on either side of the car. The in front of security arrangements would be there. Take it any small, even MLA is going. There will be a fair amount of security involved. So all these aspects, these involve a lot of detailed observation. And when somebody says it's a rally, he should be able to argue on that this is not the case, and this is the reason why this is not the case. Now, these are the logical arguments and logical reasoning that the GTOs are looking for in the stage one. It's a very basic, it's a very rudimentary kind of a rough kind of a scale that the sieve that we are using in the stage one. So even if the GTO has said yes, or the psych has said yes, and the interviewing officer has said yes, we still can drop the candidate if somebody feels otherwise. Or we can still pick up a candidate if somebody feels, let us give him a chance. He appears to be okay. So these are the things that in stage one we are looking for actually. These are the basic things that we look for.
ग्रेट सर, कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि रेकमेंडेड कैंडिडेट है, एक बार, दो बार, तीन बार रेकमेंड हो रखा है, लेकिन ही गेट स्क्रीन्ड आउट. सो डज previous recommendation have any role to play during the SSB or screening
No,
part?
not really. We go with a blank slate. Till that time, even the PIQ is not available with anybody other than the psychologist. Psychologist also is not able to go through the PIQs by then. So the only thing that is known to us is a repeater or a fresher, or maybe screened out candidate. Only these three aspects are known. Based on that, we generally make the groups. So looking at it at that type in the stage one part, what the assessors are basically concentrating is the performance of the candidate. We are not looking, was he 5-time repeater or a merit holder and medically out, or whatever the reason may be. He has to perform. This is a fresh task. This is a fresh test. He has to perform in the fresh task. What he was in the past is past. Present is very, very important. So that is what we are concentrating on.
ग्रेट सर, स्क्रीनिंग में एक चीज और जो सबसे कॉमन चीज है, बच्चे बोलते हैं कि फिश मार्केट बन गया, डिस्कशन ही नहीं हुआ. सो हाउ मच रोल डज द डिस्कशन प्ले?
Discussion plays a lot of role. It is a fish market. Everybody wants to get into the SSB second stage. So everybody wants to make a dent. Now this fish market generally, problem is generally with the repeaters, because the repeaters know unless they speak, they are not going to have any opportunity or chance to get into the stage two. So in the discussion also, in the fish market also, if you put your points logically, with reason, and with some kind of observational back as a backup, with your detailed observation, you will automatically make an impression. You will automatically make a dent. There have been cases where the candidates, even in a fish market, have been able to come to a conclusion, and the candidate who is given actually the group story has not been recommended for the stage two. So it is not, again, just to say that the person who talks or the person who's nominated as the leader is definitely going to get into the stage two. It is how you as an individual are performing in the group. That the person who's been nominated could have been a dominating member, and the people who thought he, instead of, if somebody else is dominated, he's going to create more ruckus, let us dominate him and finish it off. Something like this also could have happened. So these impressions which the trained assessors are able to make out, judge, so that is how you see the uh, though it is a fish market, there's always a pause, there's always a uh, putting down or simmering down of that fish market. That is the time when the candidate, a sharp or intelligent candidate, will jump into that time. Because whenever you are there in the discussion and everybody is talking, nobody will understand what the other person is saying. But if you listen to somebody, then you can logically cut that person. Now, there are always in a group about 4 or 5 candidates who will be a little more aggressive than the others. Now, if you take on the most aggressive of them as a candidate, you will be able to give a call to him कि भाई, let me also speak. मुझे भी बोलने का मौका चाहिए. मुझे भी मौका दो क्योंकि तुम ये गलत बोल रहे हो, ऐसे जो बोल रहे हो. The moment you say this, nobody likes to be pointed out like that. So that person keeps quiet. It's like a cascading effect. It is like a bully. The bully quietens down, his paraphernalia also quietens down. It is like that. So something like that the candidate has to resort to in a fish market. So it happens at times, it doesn't happen at times. So in short, the narration also plays a very, very important role, because narration is something that is where I gave the earlier example. You may feel that you have gone wrong in the perception. You may have written a story which is not coming out as the previous 7, 8 candidates have narrated. But are you wasting your chance by not narrating the story that you have prepared? That is where the intelligence of the candidate, the confidence, the initiative, the ability to influence, the self-belief of the candidate comes in. That so what? Even if I've written a wrong story, let me at least narrate it properly with Josh, with enthusiasm. It may be accepted, it may not be accepted. That's a different issue. But this is the only opportunity where nobody is disturbing me. Nobody is creating any problems for me. So let me utilize this 40, 45, 1 minute, 45 seconds or 1 minute properly.
Great. Sir, sometimes it happens during narration that you realize कि यार तुम्हारी story एकदम ही अलग है बाकियों से. So during that time, what should be the way forward in discussion?
The carry on the way you are. First of all, like what a candidate has to do is, first of all, project his story, project his theme, rather, not story, project his theme. If whatever the theme may be, A, B, C, whatever the theme is. If he is the initial 4, 5 candidates in the discussion, then you can project your theme. But if you are, say, talking after 8th, 9th candidate in the discussion I'm talking about, then projecting your theme doesn't really make much of a sense. Okay, my theme should be accepted. It will not make a sense. We already, by then, maybe 5, 6 candidates have spoken and they have tried to make a theme out of their talking. So it is better to amalgamate or mix your theme with their theme, or their theme with your theme, if you want to look at the other way around. Mix it up, match it up. Like example, Mela is happening, a lot of gathering is there, a crowd. The crowd could be election rally, a crowd could be a welcoming crowd, a crowd could be send-off crowd going somewhere, somebody's going. So basically you make, or somebody's coming and celebrity is there, so the crowd is meeting that. So you can make a mishmash of this and then project your story. So in case, even if your story is wrong, you can always forget about your story if you feel yours is totally different. then you forget about the story and then carry on with the group story that the others have thought about. So there is no problem in that. It is not whether your story is accepted or not. Yes, your story gets your theme gets accepted. It's a good thing, but it is not necessarily a bad thing that your story is not being accepted also. You got a chance, you got an opportunity. The GTO briefs you in the discussion you can change your story. You can make a conglomerate of all the 20 odd stories that have been narrated. So that facility is there. So why bother about your story only? Why be rigid about it? That is one of the problems which happens with most of the candidates who try to project only their story or their theme, not realizing that the other person also has got a point of view. He's also got a idea that may be good, may be bad as regards you, but for him it is a good idea.
Sir. Sir, a lot has been said about selection of candidates in SSB, but very few videos they have discussed about how assessors are selected at for the DIPR course. So, is there something which you can share which is not confidential and about
Well,
the
there's
selection
nothing. There's
process?
nothing confidential about selecting of the assessors. I'll tell you. First of all, the selection of the assessors is a very, very detailed process. There
Okay.
are previously some 30, 35 years back, the assessors used to be nominated by the recruiting directly. The
Okay.
people used to be picked up from the units. They had a certain criteria for picking up those are basically normal thing. Discipline case nahi hona chahiye, no moral turpitude, moral character. Yes, all these issues are there. So there is nothing much hidden about it. But nowadays they have opened up the type of selection in the sense that they are asking volunteers from the services to opt for the assessors. Now, you may opt or you may volunteer. It is not necessary that you will get a call for the course. So all these again, these criteria with the headquarters, they don't generally disclose these criteria or the yardsticks that they use for selecting of the officers. But there are like service brackets are there. Then the number of years of service in field, in peace, all these issues are involved, and then they select, they nominate those people to DIPR. At DIPR, it's a normal course. Now, unlike the normal army course where you are taught here, what you have imbibed is also seen because the officers who are there as the students in the DIPR are made to go through the process of the candidate themselves, not the entire process per se, but certain tasks are made to be done by the officers themselves, and they are basically it's a kind of a mini SSB that is run there at the DIPR for all the three assessors, interviewing officers, psychologists, as well as the GTOs. The selection is quite rigorous at DIPR, and it is even more rigorous in the field, that is the SSBs, because the recommended, the stage one, that is for us, DIPR, recommended officers go to the SSBs, respective SSBs for practical training. So the officers who go for practical training, they will vouch with me that sometimes we used to call it a mental commando course because the officers hardly get any time. They just have to keep at it, assessing, and each candidate we assess as a trainee. We assess 10 pages of it. That is full A4 size pages of it. We assess for each candidate. So it's a hell of a lot of thing. It's a tough course. It's definitely a tough course. And after the mental stress as well as the kind of activity that goes on in the SSB, it is the officers themselves realize we can't tamper with the system. It's a very sacrosanct and a very sacred kind of a system that we are going into. And if you're not capable of doing it, a lot of officers put up their application key. I'm unable to go through this and I may be relieved. So about 25% of the officers get opt out of the practical leg. And then about 30-40% are not recommended to be posted as assessors. So the final product out of 20, about 4 to 5 officers join as assessors, and GTO, slightly more number of officers in psychology course. The interviewing officer course is slightly different because most of the officers who come are fairly senior in the service. They are almost 15, 16, 17 years of service. So they are already fairly mature. So training for them is basically left to themselves. They train themselves. They already seen life. They have already seen a lot of ups and downs. So their training is that way relatively easier for the instructor. It's basically the trainee himself who has to imbibe the instructions of the trainee. So the recommendations of the interviewing officers are slightly more, but that is expected because they are more senior also, and they are more mature and they understand what the instructor is telling. But with the GTOs and the psychologists being a younger generation, younger lot, full of Josh, they do commit mistakes. So that happens as a trainee.
Very interesting, sir. Sir, जब GTO activity starts on the third and fourth day, generally. So, what is the first thing which the GTO does? Like, do they read the PIQ before
No,
meeting the candidates?
let's be very clear. We have only the nominal role in which the
Okay,
age of the candidate is written.
okay,
The education qualifications and
okay,
is a repeater or a fresher. Not even if it is a recommended candidate or a screened out candidate, just R and F. That is repeater and a fresher.
okay.
That is all that we get at the start of the GTO series. Because we need to have the names of the candidates. Otherwise, how will we make the reports for them?
Yes, sir. And sir, first activity is generally the GD or the lecturate,
That's a
or is there?
that's a set pattern. There's nothing, no
Okay,
change in the pattern of the SSB. I appeared in the same manner. My father also appeared in the same manner, and possibly the older generation that also appeared in the same manner. My son also appeared in the same manner. So there's no change in the system per se as far as the procedure to be followed, the sequence to be followed.
okay. So, sir,
If you wish, I can go through the sequence also if you want.
sir, if you can, please.
Oh, definitely. The first task is the group discussion, which is conducted in two parts, GD1 and GD2. Then is the group planning exercise. Thereafter, the progressive group task is conducted. And thereafter, the group obstacle race is conducted. And thereafter, we have the half group task and the lecturate. These 6 tasks are conducted on the first day itself. And thereafter, the second day, we start with the individual obstacles, the command task, and the final group. These are the tasks which are there in the GTO series, and this is the way we conduct. At times, the lecturate and the individual obstacles does get overlapped or done before or after for a simple reason. At times, if it is rainy season, then when the GTO in the afternoon finds it's slightly open and clear, might as well conduct the individual obstacle because it's a injury prone obstacle. So we try to give as friendly conditions as possible. So based on that, we do conduct the individual obstacles on the first day and then push the lecturate on the second day.
Sir, if I remember correctly, in both the GDs, one is like slightly on a topic related to current affairs, and the second one is on a kind of on something like a social issue which is there. And if yes, then what is being seen in the candidate by the GTO?
Okay. First of all, first is current affairs in the sense it's an intellectual topic.
Yes, sir.
One set of GD is for intellectual topics and one set of GD is for social topics. It's a misconception or a misnomer that the first will be intellectual and the second will be social. It is incorrect for the candidates to go with that premise in their mind because there are GTOs who give the first GD as social topics. And then they give the second GD as an intellectual topic. It could be a foreign relation or a current or a controversial topic. Basically, the GD is normally a controversial topic, which should generate discussion because only when the candidates interact with each other will the GTO be able to read their personalities, isn't it? So that is why the topics which are given with a certain amount of leads so that the candidates pick up one of the leads and then they discuss. In the social topic, basically social topic, what do you understand a social topic is? Basically, it is related to your own social behavior. Intellectual topic is something which you may have a very clear-cut opinion about a particular aspect, or it could be a clear-cut opinion about the other way around. Whereas in social topic, the candidate needs to have a balancing act, because you can't be a fence sitter in the social topic. You got to have an opinion. Example, hijab. If the topic is hijab, you can't be a fence sitter. People can wear hijab, people cannot wear hijab. Now, there are certain places, like the High Court has said, in certain places you can wear a hijab. You're permitted to wear. And there are certain places which you cannot. Now, it's a controversial topic. The candidate needs to have an opinion, or at least express his opinion in those words, which is not hurtful to anybody else, because it's all a question of faith. Hijab is also a question of faith. Some females, some ladies want to wear hijab, so let them wear it. It's their way of expressing their faith, but there has to be a place where to wear it. So that is where the High Court stepped in, or the government wanted to put a lid on it. So when such a topic is given, then you should be able to express your opinion for and against both of these issues, basically.
Okay, great. Sir, lecturate पे आते हैं. There are 4 topics. एक बहुत आसान होता है, and then एक बहुत ही मुश्किल. Like I remember in my time, I spoke on my best friend, and
Okay.
there was this topic, India's missile program, or India's Look East policy, and I didn't knew I was appearing for NDA entry, and I spoke on my best friend, and eventually got recommended. But it, like, what is the importance of choosing the topic, and then how to go about it?
Okay. See, if you pick up a difficult topic, let us take current things which are controversial, things which are happening. Hamas-Israel relation. Now, if you want to talk about this, then you must know how Hamas was born. Who was the person who propped up Hamas? Why was Hamas propped up, and for what reason was it propped up? What is the present situation? And now from here, how you go ahead. Now, if you cannot cover all these aspects when you're talking about Israel-Hamas problem in the lecture aid, then what is the use of picking up this topic? Now, let us consider the topic my best friend you picked up as a topic, but you spoke well about it. Now, your best friend is a very social kind of a person. He's a helpful kind of a person. He's very intelligent. Whenever there is a problem, he comes out and helps me. Whenever the teacher is looking for people, he's the person the teacher is always expecting that he will be the person who will come forward. What are you doing? What are you showing? You're doing what is the best possible thing that you're trying to do. It's easier to talk on a topic. Now, in lecturate and GD, the difference is in GD, you can, like I always, my favorite topic, favorite explanation to the AFPA candidates is, don't be Arjun and Shikhandi. Which arrow did hit Brahma? Arjun, yeah, Shikhandi. Do you know? Can you make out? Did Arjun have golden arrows and Shikhandi had iron arrows? Or was it what? So you can't make out. So you in lecture 8, you cannot become Arjun Shikhandi. You are alone. You are there alone in front of the group. There's nothing to hide. You cannot hide behind anybody. You have to talk. And that is what you should do. It's a 3-minute talk. The topics which most of the topics that are given, high level or low level or average level, all these topics actually can be covered in 5 to 6 hours PPTs. And if you can do it for 5 to 6 hours, you mean to tell me the candidates should not be able to talk for 3 minutes? Out of 3 minutes, about 15 to 20 seconds go in introduction, and the last 30 seconds go in conclusion. So actually, you're talking just for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes on the actual topic. You mean to say the candidates are incapable of talking for 2 minutes? Then I think you should be worried about, because then it's lack of intellectual capability, and the confidence and the lack of knowledge and content make a lot of difference. So that is where you must have scored. Despite picking a low topic, you must have been able to talk properly for whatever allotted time that is. And you must have spoken very well. That would have been the asset that you had.
it had become more of a stand-up comedy kind of thing, sir. I remember
Wonderful,
because
wonderful. I'm telling you, Simrat, it's a great asset to have a sense of humor. Not everybody has got that. If you have a sense of humor, I think you've won half the battle.
I don't know, sir. Maybe it helped. But sir, anyway, sir, GP पे आते हैं, how to go about writing the solution after the problem has been presented?
Okay. Because there are two, three ways of writing it. First is you write it as a paragraph. Straight away start off with no breakage and just carry on in one paragraph. That is one way of writing the solution. The second is you write the solution in paragraphs, one problem, two problem, three problem, four problem. Third is you write in point form. Whichever way you feel comfortable, you should be solving the writing the problem, writing the solution of the GP in this manner. एक ये तरीका है. दूसरा, the other aspect that you should cover in the solution is, first of all, the problems have been given to you to address as a group. You can't just say ki I will go to a place A and solve the problem. How have you solved it? What is your involvement in that solving? That is very important that the candidate should come out with. It cannot happen that I will take the injured and take him to the hospital, or I'll take the injured and give him first aid and take him to the hospital. That is no involvement. That is no involvement. You have to go to the nitty gritties. You have to actually, you should have been able actually doing it foot by foot, in the sense कि 10 minutes for planning. I'll take the candidate in whichever vehicle you have decided, go to the hospital, the timing taken to reach that hospital, the vehicle, what speed you will go. Over there also, you just don't go and deposit. It's not like a money donation box. You just deposit the candidate in that and just carry on. You have to go talk to the doctor. You have to explain how it happened. That itself, it takes some time. And thereafter, you fall back, and will fall back where? All these nitty-gritties, unless you are able to bring out of each problems, there's no solution. Most of the candidates which I've seen, they are unable to write, first of all. Their handwriting is also really, really wonderful, that it takes us a fair amount of time to decipher the handwriting. Nobody expects the candidates to be cursive writing and excellent handwriting and everything, but at least legible handwriting should be there of the candidate. So all these aspects do matter. So these are the things that we basically look at in the solution.
Sir, individual obstacles and snake race. What is the GTO seeing in the candidate apart from physical fitness and stamina?
Okay, individual obstacles. Now, the Air Force has got a certain way of laying out the obstacles. The Army has got a certain way of laying out the obstacles. So in the Army, I'll confine myself to the Army. The candidate has a liberty to start from any of the obstacles. It is not necessarily that he has to start from 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6. He can start from any of the obstacles. Now, the obstacles are either two-way or one-way. And they are laid out in a manner which forces the candidate to plan, a little bit planning. Not, he doesn't get that much of time that he can, it's an impromptu planning. And that itself, this is the way the Army functions. You are patrolling and suddenly a fire comes from somewhere. How the hell are you going to plan? It is impromptu. There itself you have to plan. It is something like that. It gives the indication, will he be able to plan at the spot how I am going to tackle these obstacles. It's like you picturize yourself, you're chasing a terrorist in JNK, and you come across a little high, you come across a little incline, then you come across a little drop. What is the individual obstacles? These are exactly what the individual obstacles we are looking at, first of all. Now, that is what the design concept of the individual obstacle was. Now, let us come to how to plan about going about the actual obstacles. The planning requires that the candidate should enter from an obstacle, exit, and the entry of the next obstacle should be right next to, in front of him. Understood?
Yes.
So,
Sir.
if the obstacle is two-way, then the two-way obstacle should be in such a manner, planned in such a manner that you end anywhere the previous obstacle, you should be able to get into that obstacle. But suppose, like obstacle number 1, obstacle number is a unidirectional obstacle. You have to start from one side and jump onto the other side. It's the simplest obstacle. But suppose you leave it for the last and you end up at the ending point, then unnecessarily you have to take those 4, 5 steps extra for doing it. So you waste time. So that also is seen in the individual obstacles. So planning, organizing, how are you doing it? Then even while tackling the obstacles, now some people have got arm strength, weak arm strength. Now how to go about where the rope is involved? Now, if you have got weak arm strength and you have got a rope climbing in Air Force, then obviously you should not start doing the individual obstacles right from the rope, isn't it? Because if you can't do the rope obstacle and then you go to the next obstacle, that means you are giving up on a particular obstacle. So all these planning and then how your determination is there. Now, there are certain issues like you have finished the obstacle, you got some time, and one particular obstacle is creating a problem for you. You don't give up. That determination is also shown. In spite of injury, there are some candidates who get injured in a particular, like Tarzan swing. Tarzan swing, the obstacle is fairly injury prone, especially for some candidates. Some candidates who have got problem of arm strength, their hands slip and they get their hands injured. But despite that, is he still continuing with the obstacles properly with the full Josh? Yes, the injury is going to cause him issues, but can he take the injuries in his stride? So all these things also come into place in the individual obstacles. Coming to the group obstacle race, the group obstacle race is a race where injuries are there, no doubt about it. But more than the injuries, unlike the individual obstacles where you are the only one, group obstacles, you got your friends with you. Now, how well you cooperate with your friends, you know a particular candidate is a heavy candidate. Now, for doing a particular obstacle, he will require help. Either he will require leg up or he will require somebody to catch him when he jumps from the wall. Because the injury, he may get injured. If he gets injured, it's not only his loss, the group is also going to lose it. Because the group has to carry him. The group is not going to leave him there. So that all these aspects, cooperation, the sense of responsibility, then in a particular thing, the GTO says you have broken a rule, please repeat the obstacle. He doesn't say ki chest number 1, repeat the obstacle. He says one of you to repeat the obstacle. So in that, are you volunteering? Now, if you're a heavier person and you know your stamina is not that good, there are some light, very thin people also, but there's whatever the reason, their stamina is very poor. Now, if that person starts repeating the obstacle, you're going to eat up the time of the group. You're going to delay the group. So, are you the person who are delaying the group? You must realize all these realizations start coming into you कि यार मैं ही सिर्फ नहीं हूँ, मेरे कारण ग्रुप को नुकसान हो रहा है, तो मैं ऐसा क्या करूं जो ग्रुप को फायदा हो. All these realizations start coming into the group individuals, and that is how the discipline comes into it. Okay, yeah, ठीक है, you are not able to do it, I'll do it for you, something like that. So all these aspects, discipline and cooperation and responsibility, all these things come in the group obstacle, and how willing you are to put yourself on line, that also comes in group obstacle race. There are other aspects also, but these are the basic things initially that you can think of.
Sir, have you ever recommended a candidate who has done like less than 3 obstacles?
Yes, not less than 3, but less than 5 definitely.
Okay.
There was a candidate who had in the group obstacle race, he had managed to sprain the ankle very badly.
Okay.
So when he came to the individual obstacle race, I gave him the task. You will get injured yourself. In fact, he had gone to the hospital. He gave a letter in writing. No, I am responsible for the injury if I further aggravate it in MH Allahabad. He came back after the MH. He was there for the individual obstacles, and he did all the obstacles where there was no jump required. Example, commando walk, there is no jump required. He did it. Tiger leap, where there is no jump required. He did it. Tarzan swing also he managed to do it. He fell very badly in that, but he there because they were there, the jump is not required. Then there were like obvious obstacles like number 4, where the screen jumps is there. You have to jump fairly high. He didn't do that. Then he tried to do even the number 3 balancing beam obstacle where there is no jump required, but still it was difficult for him to do it. But he took a lot of time. So he did about 5 obstacles he did, and otherwise also he was doing fairly well. So I did take him as a recommended candidate, and he got recommended finally. I remember it very much. But it was a question and answer for me to justify why I have recommended it despite this candidate not doing well. Because the candidate showed a lot of determination, a lot of courage, and a lot of presence of mind, which obstacle he can do, which obstacle he cannot do. So a fair amount of intelligence, he was there, reasoning was there. Then because of his coming in, there were a lot of other candidates who were fairly weak. They also did a lot of obstacles because of that. And at the end of the individual obstacles, when I spoke to them, I asked the well-being of the candidate who was injured. He says, "I'm fine, sir, but because of me, possibly these two candidates." He pointed out those candidates. They also, I was also surprised they were able to do it. So this shows ability to influence. That means he had the qualities, but it took a time in the conference. I was able to convince the board, and he was finally recommended. I don't know whether he made into the merit, joined the academy, but in the SSB he was recommended.
Okay. Sir, let's talk about ground obstacles like PGT, HGT, and FGT.
Okay.
So, sir, इसमें generally जैसे ना कि रस्सा फट्टा बल्ली है, and you have to cross a series of obstacles. So, uh, what is the procedure at AFPA? Like, how do you train them? And also, if someone can't afford coaching and all, so what can they do at home to prepare for those tests?
Okay. In AFPA, we have a two-stage kind of a training. In the first stage, Commander Natarajan is the person who actually feeds the baby. He is the person
Okay.
who handles the baby initially. The toughest part is done by him, about teaching, explaining the concept of cantilever and all these things. But just understanding concept and actually implementing it on ground, there's a lot of difference. So that is where we come in. So we do carry out a progressive group task, a command task, and half group task for the candidates. But again, here we avoid giving them any set piece ideas. We always tell them, what is that you have learned in the first week? Concept. That means you have to put the plank somewhere and you have to fix the plank somewhere so that it becomes a bridge. Either it is a direct bridge or it's a half bridge or it's a double bridge. So you apply that. Why are you worried what is there in front of you? Whether you're reaching the obstacle in front of you or not. So these are the things that Commander Rajan and we insist on. We don't tell them. What will happen if you? One of the basic things the candidates are afraid of is breaking rules. That fear of breaking rules prevents them from doing anything. I said that rule, the basic rule you are breaking, you are only concentrating on the 5 rules that have been told to you. But what about the basic rule that do something? You are not doing that. So you are doing the basic, you are harming yourself the maximum, but not doing anything. What will happen if you break the rule? The GTO will point it out to you. GTO may penalize you if you keep doing it time and again. But nobody is telling you to do time and again. But at least when you are trying to implement the idea, be bold about it, be upfront about it, and try it out. What will happen if you fail? Again, we tell them in AFPA that it is not the mistakes that will make you. It is the actions after you make the mistakes that will make your personality. So don't worry, even if you make a mistake, it is not that. Can you do anything after you have made a mistake? No, mistake has already been done. You can't retrieve it back. So we try to tell them, concentrate on what is in front of you, what is ahead of you, and keep doing what you're doing. So in AFPA, we basically concentrate on this. And there's then certain set piece rules which Commander Natarajan for solving the implementing the not solving implementing the concept as he gives it to the candidates, and the candidates apply those, and generally they are okay. Those concepts they have been helping the candidates. The reason why most of the candidates are doing well, especially most of them say that the GTO was okay for them and it was not a problem for them. The candidates who get recruited, it is actually misnomer that it's only the GTO. There are a lot of people who say the interview also was a flying. We went through flying interview. Psych also a lot of people say, but everybody now boils down to the obstacles. Where the obstacle, because the failure is very evident to them. It is in front of them that they failed. It appears like that, but it is not like that.
Sir.
It is not like that. So the basic thing that we teach them at AFPA is don't worry whether you're doing something right or wrong. Do it. Change it. Amend it. But do it. Don't be afraid. Because if you don't come ahead, if you don't express yourself, the GTO is not going to be able to judge you. We are not, I keep telling them, we are not antaryamis. We are not mind readers. We observe you and then do it. If you don't do anything, we observe you as that you are not doing anything. But we observe you if you are doing mistakes, then also we observe it. We also observe that we have made mistakes, but then amending it. We also tell them, you must understand all the tasks. Even in the interview, you must have realized it. The questions start off with simple and then they go on to the difficult one. Even in the GTO, you will realize it. All tasks start off with simple obstacles and go on to be a little more complex and complicated obstacles. So if you are doing it in PGT, then you should be able to do it in FGT and then definitely in command task. Because in PGT, you get a look at the obstacles even if you're looking at it the first time. You should be able to learn something there. Progressivity has to be there in your graph. If the progressivity is missing in learning, that means you're stagnant. And that is what we try to teach them. And most of the candidates have this favorite question कि सर यहाँ पर तो obstacles है, घर जाके क्या करें? वहां पर तो हमारे पास obstacles है. So another thing that we try to tell them is you got a 6-inch scale, you got a pencil, and you got sutli. Imagine you see presently आजकल तो beautiful laptops and mobiles are there, so they get structures, pictures on the mobiles. Imagine that you are right next to it and use this scale, use this pencil, use this rassi, and implement the concept that has been taught to you. Whether the structure which is ahead of that structure which is visible to you is unimportant. आप पहुंच रहे नहीं पहुंचे तो बात की बात है, तो प्रैक्टिकली जाके देखना पड़ेगा ना. यहाँ पर तो आप वर्चुअली कर रहे हो सब कुछ, जस्ट इमेजिनेटिव कर रहे हो, जस्ट विजुअलाइज करके कर रहे हो. So concentrate on that. So one structure at a time. Try and implement as many conceptual ideas that you can think of. That is how we teach them at AFPA.
Okay. Sir, command task se pehle there is a small kind of a meet or interaction interview with the candidate. So what is the essence of that?
Okay, you must realize you have been to SSB. The GTO interacts with the group. It is never individual.
Sir.
Correct? It's only in command task that the GTO interacts with the candidate individually.
Sir.
How tense you must have been. I was extremely tense. I remember my GTO days. I was extremely tense. And पता नहीं क्या खुराफाती दिमाग है इस बंदे का, ये कुछ करेगा मेरे को, मेरा दिमाग थोड़ा सा है वो भी खत्म कर देगा. Anyway, jokes apart, he realizes, the GTO realizes, this is the first time the candidate is interacting with the GTO first time. And all said and done, as far as the candidate is concerned, I am the whole and soul for him. मेरा जो कहना वो उसके लिए लागू होगा. So he realizes that he becomes tense. So to basically relax the candidate, to detense him, the GTO talks to the candidate. He basically, generally the talk is कि कहाँ के हो, what about have you been by the repeater है तो have you been by SSB before this, कितनी बार आए हो, अच्छा 2-3 बार आए हो, अच्छा. Generally that favorite game कौन सा है, who's your favorite heroine, something which is very. The question is not an interview. Question is the answer already. I already know the answer. If when I ask you what is your favorite game, either it is cricket, football, hockey, volleyball, basketball, or some other of these games. Even if he says computer games, let us presume आजकल बच्चे काफी computer games भी बोलते हैं. तो computer games, कौन सा computer game? My kids are also like that, so I generally are aware of this. Something like that. Even their kids will be aware the GTOs SSB में जो है. So basically to detest the candidate so that he doesn't get a lot of candidate freeze up, because if the GTO is unable to handle the candidate in the commander, the freeze up हो जाता है. फिर अच्छा candidate आप miss कर जाओगे. The intention of the assessor is not to reject the candidate. The intention of the assessor is to clear the candidate. Because understand, the more candidates you clear, isn't it good for you? Don't you feel good about it? मेरा candidate recommend हो गया. So understand this aspect is very, very important. Even the assessors realize that we must give the benefit of the doubt to the candidate, at least at this stage, if nothing else.
Great. Sir, conference पे आते हैं. What happens in that hall? अंदर जब before a candidate is brought in?
Okay, that is the first time when all three of us who have assessed the candidate discuss the candidate for the first time. Now, let us presume the candidate is cleared by all three. GTO has cleared him, Psych has cleared him, IO has cleared him. And there's nothing much major observation about the candidate. Why the hell should we waste our time discussing this candidate?
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, test number 1, walk in. जनरली द चिट चैट होता है इंटरव्यूइंग ऑफिसर के साथ में कि स्टे कैसा था, कुछ रिकमेंडेशंस है, एनीथिंग दैट वी नीड टू इम्प्लीमेंट टू इम्प्रूव द फैसिलिटीज दैट कैन बी गिवन टू यू, हाउ द फूड, बिकॉज फूड इज समथिंग विच इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इंडियन कंटेक्स्ट में तो बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. एंड काफी लाडले आते हैं हमारे पास माँ बाप के, तो उनको सबको प्लीज करना तो इम्पॉसिबल है, बट द SSB, the centers do try to make as good a food possible as possible, to offer them as good a food possible. But फिर भी there are some people who come up with damn good suggestions, damn good ideas, like magazines के बारे में आते हैं, TVs के बारे में आते हैं, timings के बारे में आते हैं. So these ideas then, if at least not for them or not immediately, subsequently they do get implemented. So that is what happens in the conference when the candidate is not to be discussed much. So ये सब होता है. When the candidate is to be discussed, suppose some assessor has got some serious observation about the particular candidate, then the candidate is actually discussed threadbare. Each of the assessors bring out what they feel about the candidate, and then the candidate keeps on waiting outside. And then even in despite that, if the assessor who's not cleared the candidate thinks, we should not recommend him, and the other feel ki, fine, the things which you're telling are serious enough, but not to that extent that the academy cannot sort him out, because academy as it is sorts out the candidate good and proper. अच्छा खासा ठोक ठाक के ठीक कर देती है, टेढ़े मेढ़े बंदे को भी सीधा कर देती है.
बिल्कुल
So
सर.
we have a lot of faith in the academies also. So
Okay.
instead of standing judge and jury totally, we allow the candidate to come in, and again some questions pertinent to the observations that have been raised are asked to the candidate. And if similar responses are given by the candidate, then we go with the assessor who has raised those observations, and we drop the candidate. If he otherwise proves otherwise, then the candidate may even get a chance with certain amount of information given to the academy to keep an eye on this particular candidate on so and so aspects. This thing
Okay,
happens.
so that is also being done.
Oh, by the way, till the second lieutenant rank was there, we were not supposed to be called as second lieutenants. We were supposed to be called as misters. We were on probation for 2 years. We were on probation for 2 years. We could be chucked out of the army within the first 2 years. In fact, during that time, the CEO used to give a proper SSB type report back to the army headquarters.
My God.
Oh, it was but thereafter, of course, things have changed. Modern generation has changed. Lieutenant आ गया, second lieutenant के बदले. We are one of the few lucky ones who wore only 2 stars, one on left and one on right.
Great. So you are from how did you got the motivation to join the army?
Well, I'm a second generation officer.
Okay.
So that motivation missing was not there.
Okay.
So not much. In fact, not only that, my 2 cousins were already there in the army.
Okay.
In fact, when I
okay.
joined the academy, my cousin was there in the same company. He had left by then. He had got posted out, and I went there. So I had a wonderful time in the academy. His trainees were there to take care of me.
Great.
And
And sir, any funny anecdote which you would like to share, or you're comfortable sharing about your interaction with the candidate during SSB?
well, I can tell you during the SSB se acha, I'll tell you during my training time. There was a
sir.
candidate. The topic that was given to him was 2 plus 2. Okay. And the
Yes.
candidate, wonderful candidate, a very confident candidate, a very good candidate. He went and stood in front of the group and started talking about Hum Do Hamare Do. And he gave a good lecture of Hum Do Hamare Do. So at the end of the lecture, I stopped him. I said, do you know what 2 plus 2 is? He said, yes, sir. After half a minute, I realized I was going wrong because the people sitting in front of me started smiling. But then granted him. He stood up to his. I started with Hum Do Hamare Do. I must go with Hum Do Hamare Do. Come what may. Finally, the candidate has got recommended and he's joined the academy. NDA mein hai bachcha.
Amazing.
So that was a real funny thing.
Great.
Such kind of things keep happening actually.
Great. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on our show as a guest.
It was a
Privileged to have
wonderful
you.
experience. It was a real
Really
pleasure.
looking forward to our next collaboration with you. Sir, जाने से पहले एक question which I ask everyone is कि you have seen many repeaters getting recommended eventually.
Correct.
So
Correct.
what is your message to the guy out there जो screen out हो गया या conference out हो गया या merit out हो गया even worse? So what is your message to the guy out there?
See, a person who's a repeater need not necessarily mean that he is a repeater because of some fault of his. It could be that his performance at that particular time has not been up to the mark. One of the greatest examples of a classic repeater who did fantastically well in the army was Vikram Batra.
Sir.
More than me, the candidates should look up to Vikram Batra. He is possibly the best role model that anybody can have. 13th to the 14th time he got recommended in the SSB and is gone. And now, of course, God rest his soul, he's no more with us. But if he had been, he would have been the best role model you could have. Instead of me sending a message, just keep him as an idol and keep trying. In case you are interested in the army, in case you are interested in the services, that is defense forces. If you are, then lage raho munna bhai.
Thank you so much, sir. Privileged to have you. And
Pleasure.
guys, do check out AFPA. Check out their website. The link is in description. Also, do like, share, subscribe this video. And if you're listening to us on any audio platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. Thank you, Jayant. Take care.
Yeah, thank you very much.